In this presentation, we are going to talk about history passages. Now, when we have discussed about the narrative, the social science passages, the science passages, the third category of passages is the history passages. As you all can see, most of the time, these history passages come in the form of a dual passage or a double passage. There would be two opinions mentioned here. So on the same subject, the two people would be talking about two different points of views. And that's how this particular passage is arranged. If you look at test 6 or test 7 or test 8, as you all can see, questions 32 to 41, pretty much the third passage is the history passage. And in all these three tests, this particular portion is in the form of a double passage. Now, let us first quickly understand the type of history passages and how we should approach it, what kind of mindset should we go with while doing history passages, and then we will see one or two examples. Basically, history passages come with some fixed themes: gender equality, equality between men and women, freedom, so struggle for independence, slavery. This is one common practice in US, and how slavery was abolished. So some struggle related to slavery and some thoughts about it. Constitution, should we follow constitution? Should we follow good laws, bad laws? And so those kind of subjects, provisions of changing laws. So these kind of themes. So there are some fixed themes. What I'm trying to say is, if you know that history passage would have this theme, it would be easy for you to classify it in one of these themes and understand it very quickly. You'll find that history passages have a very tough language. Not that the words are difficult, but it is difficult to relate with that era, because history is something which is in the past and you are not there in the past. So the content is about something which might be alien to you. So that is why you find it difficult, and it is important for you to classify it into one of these categories. Sentences are loaded with lots of emotions, and there's a lot of repetition there. So what you can do is just try to understand whether the writer is supporting an idea or opposing an idea. Don't get caught into the extra details which are there. Simply try to identify what is his point of view. Is he supporting the idea or opposing it? And that would be enough. You'll find many rhetorical expressions and question marks. They are not the questions actually. This is the way of making a statement. So we'll see some examples of history passages where there are lots of question marks, where the writer tries to make a point by asking questions. You'll find long sentences. Now, how to deal with long sentences? You don't have to read the whole stuff. Read it into parts. You don't even have to read every part of a long sentence. You can read the initial and the end part and try to understand what the sentence is trying to say. So that's how you can deal with long sentences. They are difficult words. You can use contextual clues. You can read the paragraph and understand what this word is. You need not know the meaning of each and every word. Sometimes there are metaphorical representations. Like I remember a passage where they talk about a bridge, and at the fag end of the bridge, there are women. And what he was trying to say was that in the passage of time, earlier it was only men. So there was a progression of men, or there was a crowd of men only who were there in factories who used to work. But now at the fag end, there are women. So the lady was trying to say that the participation of women is a new development. That is why in that progression of a long progression of men, there is. So, these kind of metaphorical expressions are there, which try to tell you something indirectly. So in the long queue of men, if the women are at the end, which means now in the domain of men, there are women as well, and they are also participating. So these kind of expressions you should be comfortable with. Don't get carried away by the words themselves. Be ready to read some metaphorical representations and try to understand the basic idea. Do not get carried away by just the words. How to read and answer history passages? You should do a quick survey of the passage by doing skimming. So survey, then read the questions and identify the nature of the questions that you see. Read the specific portions and answer those questions. We call it as combing. In combing, what we do is we read one or two paragraphs and answer questions related to that particular paragraph. Don't read the whole stuff. You can keep on reading one or two paragraphs and answer questions related to that. Sequence of answering the questions. No need to answer the most difficult questions first. Answer easy questions. Now, what is the definition of easy question? So there are four types of questions: word-based, line-based, paragraph-based, and passage-based. This is important, pay attention here. A word-based question would be one which is based on vocabulary. So, let me just give you a quick example of a word-based question, probably this one. As used in line 24, urge most nearly means. So here, the word, you just have to read this word and understand what is the context. Whenever you get a word-based question, like what is it saying? Line number 24, the word is urge. I'll quickly try to solve this here. When I so pressingly urge a strict observance of all the laws, let me not be understood as saying there are no bad laws. When I so pressingly urge, so he's urging, it means he's supporting this idea. What is the most appropriate word? So as you can make out, it is when I so pressingly advocate. Yeah, so you can replace the word and see what is the meaning. So these are word-based questions. It is easy to answer these questions without getting too much into it. But look at this question in passage one. Passage one means the whole passage. Should not answer this at the beginning itself unless you have read the passage. Look at this question. This is a line based in sentence 24 to 28, which means you don't have to read the whole passage. So doing these questions, word based and line based questions at the beginning makes sense. Wherever you get this word passage, you can do that question at a little later stage. One more quick point which I want to make about these types of passages is when you get two passages, 90% of the time, these two people oppose each other. He has one point of view, the other person has other point of view. Like for example, in this particular test, you'll find that the first person, whoever he is, Abraham Lincoln probably, he says that we should follow all the laws and we should not break the laws. There is a provision for changing the laws, we should follow it. And in the second passage, Thoreau is a little radical. He says, if there are bad laws, why should we follow them? We should not follow the bad laws. If we know that they are bad, why should we follow it? My life is not to waste following bad laws or to change them. It is the government's duty to change it. If there is a bad law, I won't follow it, is what this guy says. So, this is how these passages would be. One person would have one idea about a subject, the other person would have an opposite idea of that very subject, on that very subject. So if you read first passage carefully, you can make out what the other person would be saying. Yeah. So that's pretty much the idea. Okay, let's move further. So yeah, this is the technique that you should follow. Do easy questions first is what I was at. And you can do the difficult questions, the paragraph based and the passage based questions at a later stage. This is the sequence you can follow. Do easy questions first. And you know what are the easy questions? Questions which are based on one word or for which they have already specified that go to these lines and tell us what's going on there, right? Do not waste too much time on the same question, on one question itself. Make a qualified guess and move on and come back to it later. Many times we get caught into one question and we start thinking, oh, this can be the right answer, that can be the right answer. Make a quick comparison between words in the two options. See if there is some extreme word used in one of the options and chuck it off. Don't go with that. Go with an option which is a little more particular with regard to the passage, which is more nearer to the theme of the passage. Select that option. We'll see some examples of this sort when we do the passages. But yes, don't get stuck on two options and start thinking too deeply about it. Just select one based on whatever best idea you can get about it, and then move on with the with answering that question, right? Now, what is the exercise? What should you do after this? Test 6, test 7, and test 8 do history passages. Typically, history passages are questions 31 to 41, as you can see here, 33 to 43, somewhere in that range. The third passage of the test would pretty much be a history passage. Now, let me take this as an example. How should you approach it? Read the passage very quickly. And this is called as skimming. I've discussed about skimming in other sessions also. What exactly is the meaning of skimming? Skimming does not mean that you are supposed to read the passage very fast. Skimming means you read the passage selectively. You only read certain portions of the paragraphs which are the key, which carry the key information. Like, for example, let us take this paragraph as an example, and I'll tell you what exactly is the meaning of skimming in another 1 or 2 minutes. So if you look at this, it says, let every American, every lover of liberty, every well-wisher to his posterity swear by the blood of revolution. Now, can you see the kind of words used? It's laden with a lot of emotions. Never to violate in the least particular the laws of the country. Now, laws of the country, this part is the crux of the whole discussion. They are talking about the laws, and never to tolerate their violation by others. So basically, it is about laws. As the pattern of 76 did not, patriots of 76 did to support the Declaration of Independence, so to the support of Constitution and laws. Let every American pledge his life, his property, his sacred honor. Let every man remember that to violate the law. So can you see that it's all about following the laws is to trample? And in so many words and in so many ways, this guy is trying to say that, boss, follow the laws. When the laws are all made, you should follow them. Let every man remember that to violate the law is to trample the blood of his father, to tear the character of his own and his children's liberty. Let reverence for the laws, again, laws and laws and laws. So basically, he's advocating that we should follow laws. Be breathed by every American mother to the lisping babe that prattles to her lap. Let it be taught in schools, in seminars, in colleges. Let it be written in premiers, spelling books, and in almanacs. Let it be preached from the pulpit, and so on and so forth. So as you all can see, there are so many words, but if you try to take the essence of this paragraph, it's trying to say that we should follow laws and we should, we should not break them. If you understand this particular part, you can pretty much make out that the other guy would say, if there are bad laws, why should you follow them? So by reading the first paragraph a little more carefully, you would be able to make out what the second passage talks about, and you would be able to answer questions. How should you answer questions? First, go for passage 1. Don't read both the passages together. Read first passage and answer questions related to first passage. First few questions, as you all can see here, first few questions would be all related to the first few questions would all be related to first passage. And like, for example, if you look at this, question 33 says passage 1, 34 is also related to passage 1, 35 is also related to passage 1, 36 is also from passage 1, 37 is from passage 1, and now from 38 onwards, it is passage 2. So, you don't have to read both the passages together. You can read the first passage first and answer questions related to it. And then you can go about doing the second passage and answer questions related to that. So this is the structure that you should follow. And this is how you should answer the history passages. Now, what is the exercise for you? What should you do after this? Your exercise is to do test 6, test 7, and test 8, all the history questions from it. Once you are done with that, we can check and we can see how you perform in it. All the very best to you. Thank you so much.